Hi everyone. I would like to start this speech out with an assumption. Everyone has glued pieces of paper together. Would you nail the pieces of paper together? Everyone lives in a house. Would you trust a house entirely made out of washable glue? In these scenarios, it seems obvious that a number of things would go wrong and you wouldn't end up with the results you wanted. When I was younger, I had to learn the Quaker SPICES: simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. I was not always happy about doing so. It felt like one more ideal that was being shoved in front of my face. Years later, I am grateful to have learned these testimonies because they allowed me to weave real-life threads into these concrete building blocks, letting them grow and bloom with me into beautiful ideas that embroider my day-to-day life. I would like to call attention to the spice often ironically considered the simplest and most underestimated of the Quaker SPICES: community. What is community? It is easy to say that community is simply being within a group of people, but I have found so much more depth and intricacy. I found this out when I came to the gradual realization that true community cannot be achieved without internal connection, which it in itself cannot be achieved without minding the light. When I was in elementary school, I had no friends. On the playground, I would look around at the kids storming around like standing in the eye of a hurricane, dreaming about being part of the unforgiving rage of fitting in that I felt too scared to prove myself to. Sure, I had people I talked to sometimes, people I played with. I had no friends. The acquaintances that I did make, usually ironically the teachers noticing that I didn't have many friends, often felt forced, but I thought also that this was what true friendship was, and this was the return. As I got older, I was lucky enough to have a few real friends, which made me feel that there was something greater out there for me. I, like every other kid of this generation, was isolated during a critical period of social development as a product of COVID-19 pandemic times. I felt lonelier than ever. So, when I arrived at George School, I was stressed by nature. I felt as though I had to scramble to make friends, or I would get left behind as I felt the wind pick up in the eye of another brewing hurricane. I felt scared. I was anxious. Luckily, this anxiety counteracted its competitor, fear of meeting people for the first time. And through this, I did actually make a lot of friends. Meanwhile, the days, the weeks, the months passed as I continued with my continued Quaker education. I had seen the simple phrase, "mind the light," a lot around campus, but I wasn't exactly sure of what it meant, the meaning hazing up in my mind. Still, I wanted more. The years soared by slowly and all at once as I figured out who I trusted and who disappeared with an illusion. Most of the people that I had met that year shed with the brush of a hand, flaking off the excess, cutting matters right down to the core. I figured out who I trusted and who I liked and who made me feel the most comfortable in my own skin and stuck with them. I figured out what I liked, and I tried my best not to care what other people thought. And that's where I feel as though I am now. Up to now, as I was researching what I actually learned from this experience. So, at the start of my research, I naturally stumbled across the Google definition of connection, a relationship in which a person, thing, or idea is associated with something else. I will take a case study. When I was in theater, everyone was enthusiastic. Everyone worked to achieve a common goal. I felt associated with my fellow castmates, production, and tech team. It was a space where I felt as though I could try my best, even if my best wasn't the best. This vulnerability that I felt safe enough to display helped me deepen my connection with this community. I believe that this was the start of an overwhelmingly strong connection and sense of purpose in my life. Through that has shown me that connection can be achieved through common interest and emotional openness, the latter of which is harder to achieve because it requires trust. Like all other truly good things in life, connection comes with its risks, which lead to fears. It isn't easy having the courage to reach out for a connection or deepen a connection with other people. That's why we often end up being too afraid to reach out or putting others on a pedestal. So, back to community. If community isn't simply being within a group of people, then what is community? If connection is the mold, the glue, the whatever that ties a group of people together, then that's what unites them as a community. Within a community is a group of friends, people that have true connections with each other. That's why going to a Quaker school, a community of friends, was especially advantageous for me in this regard, because by being taught to mind the light and calling each other friends, it helped set up the association that held the community together, making the connection real. Similarly, I minded the light in all of my friends, and that's why we're standing strong today as a community. So, to summarize, through going to a Quaker school has shown me the importance, the benefit, the risk, and finally, the feeling of connection through the Quaker values that have been there since the foundation of my journey of growth and healing. Of course, community is never an easy journey, whether it's fear of connection, fear of judgment, other physical or mental barriers. Creating that feeling of association is something that we all strive for every day, trying to make a better community in our lives. Now, the newfound courage that I have and have yet to gain for connection, I'm sure of, are what are materializing a strong and true community in my life. So, you guys, I would encourage each and every one of you to look around at the people around you. In this room, when you walk out of this room, all the other places that you find yourselves after that. Are you in a community? If so, where? Are you the doorway that lets other people in? Are you the walls that maintain the structure? Are you the roof that shelters others from the rain? If anything, don't settle for a house made out of glue. Be the architect and builder of your future. Thank you. Bye.